Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the star of our show, Terry.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to The Music and Me. I'm your host, Terry, and I've got a question for you. Have you ever listened to a song that felt like you were watching a movie in your head? Like suddenly you're transported into some wild love triangle, or a tense courtroom drama, or even just someone's quiet moment of truth, all wrapped up in a 4-minute soundtrack? If you know what I'm talking about, then this episode is definitely for you. Today, I'm going to be diving into some of my absolute favorite songs that tell a whole story and some that are recent favorites. I'm talking about heartbreak, revenge, twists that you never saw coming, and moments that hit you right in the feels. These are the songs that don't just make you dance or sing along, they make you feel, they make you imagine, they pull you into another person's world for a few minutes, and sometimes they stay with you long after the music stops. I love these kind of songs because, honestly, it's like watching a mini movie play out in my mind. You've got characters, drama, plot twists. Some of them even have cliffhangers. And the best part? You can replay them over and over again without anyone judging you for watching the same movie 20 times. I do it all the time. So, whether you're into mysteries, love stories, or emotional roller coasters, stay with me because we're about to explore some of the greatest story songs that have ever hit the airwaves. So let's press play on the drama, shall we? First, let's talk about what actually makes a song a story song. Because not every song with lyrics is telling a full story. Some are just about vibes. And hey, I love a good vibe, but story songs, they're something special. A real story song gives you the whole package, a beginning, a middle, and an end. It's like a musical sandwich with all the layers in between. You're not just dropped into some random moment with no context. You're along for the ride start to finish. Usually, there's a character or a narrator, someone telling you exactly what's happening, whether it's their own story or someone else's. And I don't know about you, but I'm always hooked by that. Like, ooh, what is this? What did they do? What's about to go down? It's giving audiobook, but with a beat. And then, the twist. The emotional arc. There's always some kind of change, a reveal, a moment of realization, a heartbreaking truth, a plot twist that leaves you going, wait, what just happened? I live for these moments. Like in Ode to Billy Joe, when you realize no one's talking about what matters, or in The Night the Lights Went Out in Georgia, where justice takes a wild turn. It's drama, suspense, feelings, all wrapped in a melody. But here's the coolest part. Story songs are immersive. I don't just listen to them. I feel like I'm in them. I see the dusty highways, the kitchen tables, the jail cells, the neon lights. I feel like I know the people, even if I've never been in their shoes. And that's magic. These songs let us step into someone else's story, and sometimes they even help us understand our own a little better. So now that we've set the stage, let's get into some of my favorite story songs of all time, and also a few new ones I found. Buckle up, because these little musical movies are so worth watching with your ears. Let's kick things off with a powerful set of songs that deep dive into what it means to struggle, to fight, and to survive. These are the songs that tell the tough stories, the kind that stick with you long after the music fades out. This segment is all about stories of strength, struggle, and survival. Songs that deal with abuse, loss, resilience, and the power of hope. Buckle up, because these songs, they're emotional rides. The first song I want to talk about is bold, chilling, and unforgettable. It's called Independance Day by Martina McBride. But this isn't the kind with sparklers and barbecues. Martina McBride takes us into the heart of a small town where a young girl watches her mother endure abuse from her father. No one helps. The neighbors turn a blind eye until one day her mother decides she's had enough. The song never spells out exactly what happens, but the hints are there, so we all know. A fire, a turning point, a new kind of freedom. That chorus, "Let freedom ring, let the white dove sing," sounds patriotic, but when you understand the context, it hits with so much more weight. It's about a woman breaking free no matter the cost. It's raw, it's brave, and it tells a story that too many people know all too well. Just horrible. I do love this song, and it makes me very emotional to listen to it, but also I love a good revenge. You know, most of these songs have a little bit of revenge in it. I love a good revenge song, but this one's also heartbreaking and speaks up for the people without a voice. And speaking of songs that speak up for the voiceless, let's stay with Martina McBride for a minute. Because when it comes to emotional storytelling, she's a master. Her song, Concrete Angel, tells the heartbreaking story of a young girl suffering in silence. She goes to school with bruises hidden under her sleeves. She's quiet, withdrawn. People notice, teachers, neighbors, but no one steps in. And then one day, it's too late. The girl dies, and the song paints a devastating picture of her final piece as a concrete angel, remembered in stone. It's haunting, and the way the music swells at the end just tears you apart. And what makes this song powerful is that it's not just about sadness, it's a call to notice, to act, to protect. You hear it and you want to do something, so you should. But sometimes we're too afraid to speak up. And it leads to things like in Concrete Angel, which is sad and horrible, and we should all protect each other. But this song makes me cry almost every time I listen to it. It's just so heartbreaking and sad, but beautiful. And I love Martina McBride. She's one of my favorite country artists. So I am probably going to do an episode about Martina McBride in the future, but we'll see. All right, now let's shift gears to something gentler, but just as emotional. Carrie Underwood's Temporary Home is like a series of short stories, each one reminding us that life's hardest moments aren't forever. First, we meet a little boy in foster care, lonely, unsure, but clinging to hope. Then, a single mom trying to rebuild her life, carrying the weight of the world, but still pressing on. And finally, an elderly man in a hospital bed at the end of his journey, completely at peace with what's to come. Each of them sees their situation as just a temporary home, which is a positive way of looking at their situation. It's comforting and warm, and Carrie sings it with such quiet strength. It's not dramatic, it's human. It reminds us that even in the darkest valleys, there's something better up ahead. We just have to keep going. This song is beautiful, and as you know, I love Carrie Underwood. I did a whole episode about her, and I will link that one in the show notes if you want to listen to the Carrie Underwood episode. I've always liked Temporary Home. It's just so beautiful, and it just gives you a positive way of looking at any situation. Like, any bad situation is just temporary. So you just have to look ahead and know that something better is coming along, even at the end of your days. I mean, Earth is just a temporary home. Eventually, we're all going to die, and we're going to go to, I believe, heaven. But whatever you believe. All right, finally, let's talk about a song that doesn't tell one story, but a lifetime of them. 7 Years by Lukas takes us on a journey from childhood to adulthood, with all the hopes, fears, and reflections in between. It starts with a 7-year-old boy listening to his mother's advice about making friends and not being lonely. I connect to that. It was hard for me to make friends, though, when I was young because I was super shy. Then we move through his teenage years, into his 20s, then 30s, and then into his imagination of what life might be at 60. There's something so relatable about it. The way the lyrics reflect on growing up, losing people, chasing dreams, it's not sugar-coated. It's real. It makes you think about your own life, where you've been and where you're headed. And the music? Smooth and easy to sing along to, even while you're having a mini identity crisis in your car. It's a reflection on time, on legacy, and on the quiet ambition of simply trying to live a meaningful life. 7 Years is a beautiful song, and I listened to it quite a while ago, like when it came out. I'm not sure when it came out, but when I was researching for this episode, I found it again and remembered that it is a great storytelling song, and I could see the whole thing in my mind, as all these songs that I've talked about. Like I said, they're a movie in my mind. I can see the whole thing play out. I can feel the emotions in all the songs. These songs, they just cut deep. They're about survival, resilience, hope, and reflection. And that's the magic of storytelling through music. They don't just entertain you, they make you feel. They remind you of what it means to be human, even in the hardest moments. All right, up next, we're shifting gears from the heartfelt to the dark. We're diving into songs about murder, secrets, and sweet, sweet revenge. So stay tuned because you're going to love this next segment. All right, friends, buckle up because we're diving headfirst into the drama. I'm talking soap opera level twists, fate flipping the script, and love stories that make you cry, laugh, and gasp, and maybe all three at once. These songs take you on emotional detours, complete with heartbreak, healing, and some seriously life-changing moments. So let's get into this section. This one's going to be fun. We start with a song that sneaks up on you with every verse. Tim McGraw's Don't Take the Girl begins innocently enough. A little boy begging his dad not to bring that little girl on their fishing trip. We've all been there, right? When we're kids, we don't want the opposite gender to come with us. Sometimes now we don't want the opposite gender to come with us. Sometimes it's just better to have like a girls' trip like I did in New York City. Anyway, when you're a kid, the opposite sex is basically the enemy, right? But then fast forward a few years and suddenly that same girl is his everything. He's a teenager now. And when someone tries to rob them, he's pleading with the thief, take my money, my wallet, my truck, but don't take the girl. And just when you think your heart can't take any more, we reach the final verse. They're married. She's giving birth and something goes wrong. And now he's begging someone else, God this time, not to take her. The song is like a full-length film condensed into 3 verses. It's tender, tragic, and shows how deeply love grows over time. So bring tissues if you're going to listen to this one. Lots of them. This song is so beautiful, and I had forgotten about it before I did this episode. So once again, I found this one in my research and remembered I loved this song. It's just so, well, first it starts off so cute, and then it just gets emotional, and you realize that life is precious, which is what I like about this song. Now let's take a sharp turn into something a little darker and a lot more intense. Stan by Eminem featuring Dido is a storytelling masterclass. It's not just a song, it's a psychological thriller in music form. We hear from Stan, a superfan, writing letters to Eminem. At first, it's kind of sweet. He's just excited and wants to connect. But then things start to unravel fast. Stan gets more and more obsessive, more unhinged. The details get disturbing. The tone of his voice changes, the spelling slips, and he becomes furious that Eminem hasn't responded. By the time we finally hear from Eminem, it's already too late. The ending is like a gut punch. What makes this song unforgettable is how real it feels. The eerie beat, Dido's haunting chorus, and Eminem switching between voices all adds up to a chilling tale about fame, mental health, and obsession. It's creepy, it's compelling, and it's the kind of song that leaves a mark. The first time I heard this song, I wasn't really paying attention to the story, but then I really listened to it and I could see the whole thing play out in my mind. And then when I got to the end, I said, whoa. So that's a good storytelling song. And it's kind of like a movie you'd see on TV about an obsessive fan who takes it a little too far and then the story ends in tragedy. But I had to include this song in this episode because that was a great story. A little dark, but a great story. All right, everybody, let's take a breath because we need a breather after that one because that song was a little dark, but awesome. So let's lighten the mood just a little bit and talk about a classic. A classic story song with a twist of comedy and a whole lot of character. Johnny Cash's A Boy Named Sue is like if a bar brawl and a therapy session had a baby. Here's the setup. A father names his son Sue on purpose. Why? So he'll grow up tough. And boy does he. Sue gets teased, scrapes through life swinging fists, and eventually hunts his deadbeat dad down to give him a taste of his own medicine. They fight it out, but then the dad explains himself, and somehow, weirdly, you kind of understand. It's ridiculous, yes, but it's also surprisingly sweet in a rough around the edges kind of way. And Johnny Cash's delivery makes it feel like you're sitting right next to him at that smoky bar, hearing the story firsthand. You'll laugh, maybe cringe, but by the end, you might even be rooting for good old Sue. I loved this song. I hadn't listened to it in a long time. I'd heard it before, but when I was researching for this episode, I just found this song funny and had to include it because it's hilarious because, Johnny Cash's dad names him Sue, so he'll grow up tough because he knew he was going to get made fun of and bullied and all that. So Sue would have to learn to fight back, but he doesn't understand that until he hunts down his dad and his dad explains himself. And then you kind of get it, but still at the end, Johnny Cash sings that if he ever had a boy, he would name it like George or Fred or something. I don't remember the exact names, but it's hilarious because he says he still hates the name Sue, which I found funny, so I had to include it in this episode. And now, just when you think it can't get any wilder, we're going to go there. Let me introduce you to a song that is pure melodrama, dipped in 70s flair and sprinkled with heartbreak. Run, Joey, Run by David Geddes is like listening to a teen tragedy movie in real time. You've got young lovers, an angry father, a desperate phone call. Julie begs Joey not to come over, and of course, he does anyway. And what happens? Gunshots, screaming, a heartbreaking twist ending where Julie sacrifices herself for love. It's so over the top, and I loved every second of it. The music swells like a soap opera. The dialogue is intense, and you find yourself listening with your mouth open going, wait, what just happened? It's the kind of story you need to hear twice just to make sure you didn't dream it, which I listened to it like 4 or 5 times. And the more I listened to it, the more I thought, this is a great story song because I could see the whole mini movie playing in my head, and it was awesome. So Run, Joey, Run had to be in this episode because I could see the whole thing playing out in my head and it became one of my favorites. Now, I'd listened to it before, but it wasn't like one of my favorite songs, but now it is because it's like a wonderful mini movie. From young love to dangerous obsession, from comedy to chaos, these songs don't just tell stories, they live in your head rent-free. You hear them once, and the characters stick with you. That's the beauty of a good story song. It grabs your emotions, shakes them around, and leaves you somewhere totally different than where you started. All right, coming up next, we're heading into even darker territory with murder, secrets, and revenge that served with a side of sass. We're heading into the land of true crime-inspired tunes, where the drama is high, the stakes are deadly, and the women? They're absolutely done taking anyone's nonsense. These songs have it all: revenge, betrayal, and a touch of sass. It's like a murder mystery party set to music, and it's thrilling from beginning to end. All right, let's start things off with one of my favorite storytelling songs because it's hilarious but also filled with revenge. Goodbye Earl by the Chicks, a Southern revenge anthem that feels like a Lifetime movie set to a fiddle. We meet Mary Ann and Wanda, best of friends since way back. But Wanda marries a man named Earl, and things take a terrible turn when he turns abusive. After he puts Wanda in the hospital, Mary Ann swoops in with a plan, and Earl had to die. Yep, it gets dark, but the way the Chicks tell it, with upbeat music, playful storytelling, and zero remorse, it almost feels like justice served with a smile. Earl ends up wrapped in a tarp, stuffed in the trunk, and the girls open a roadside stand and live happily ever after. What a great movie song. It's campy, clever, and somehow still makes you cheer. I love this song so much. It is so funny, but full of revenge, which I love. Also, you'll never look at Black Eyed Peas the same way again. And speaking of things you'll never see the same way again, I've got a quick and fascinating little fact before we jump into our next deadly tale. So don't go anywhere because we're taking a little fun detour and then I'll be back with more musical mayhem. Welcome to my interesting fact of the week. Let's take a little break from our playlist of powerful plots and dive into something I like to call storytime stats and fun facts. Now, we all know that a good story song can pull you in like a gripping movie, but did you know this type of song has actually been around for centuries? Long before Spotify and radio, people were singing story songs as a way to pass down history and folklore. Think ancient ballads from Ireland, Scotland, and even the Appalachian Mountains. Music was the original Netflix. And speaking of gripping plots, some of the most famous story songs are actually based on true events. Gordon Lightfoot's The Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. Totally real. That shipwreck really happened in 1975. Gives you chills, doesn't it? What's really cool is that these songs aren't tied to one genre. Story songs pop up everywhere, in country, pop, rock, rap, folk, you name it. Whether it's Johnny Cash telling us about a boy named Sue or Eminem weaving a chilling tale in Stan, everyone loves a good musical narrative. And get this, our brains are wired for stories. We're more likely to remember lyrics if they tell us a story, especially one with a twist. So, if you've been humming Goodbye Earl for the past 15 years, now you know why. Oh, and sometimes these songs go full circle and become movies or TV shows. That's right, remember Harper Valley PTA? Started as a song, turned into a hit show. Talk about a plot twist. So yeah, story songs aren't just fun to listen to, they're rooted in history, backed by science, and they stick with us for a reason. All right, let's get back to our next musical tale. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that fun little fact break. But now, let's get right back into the drama because we've got more musical mysteries to unravel. And this next one, it's got betrayal, suspense, and a funeral that turns out to be anything but sad. In Two Black Cadillacs by Carrie Underwood, we're dropped into the middle of a funeral procession. But this is no ordinary farewell. Two women pull up in separate Cadillacs, both dressed in black. One is the wife, the other, the mistress. And they're not there to throw punches. They're there because they've planned this together. Their mutual man has been lying to them both, and they decide to make sure he never did it again. The lyrics are subtle, the piano is eerie, and the tension builds like a slow burn thriller. You're never told anything outright, but you don't need to be. Carrie's voice and those haunting harmonies paint the whole story, and by the end, you're left with chills. I've always loved this song, and I love Carrie Underwood, as I said, and I will link that episode in the show notes if you want to listen to it. But when I watched her Reflections concert on Disney Plus, and I saw her perform Two Black Cadillacs, I saw the whole story in my head, which is kind of what led me to this episode, because I love that songs can create a whole movie in your mind, a beginning, a middle, and an end, because I love movies. So listening to a 4-minute movie, you can listen to as many of them as you want, and you can listen to them over and over and over. I mean, they're just amazing. I love storytelling songs so much. Now buckle up, because The Lights Went Out in Georgia by Reba McEntire takes plot twists to a whole new level. It starts like your typical Southern scandal. A man comes home, finds out his best friend's been sleeping with his wife, and goes looking for him. But when he arrives, the guy's already been murdered. And somehow, he's the one who gets blamed. He's arrested, tried, and hanged, all in one day. You think that's the end? Nope. Here comes the twist. The real killer is his sister. Yep, she did it to protect him, and then said nothing while he paid the price. Reba delivers every line with this slow, deliberate tension that keeps you hanging on every word. It's haunting, heartbreaking, and absolutely unforgettable. I love Reba, and I love this song. It's just another one of those revenge-type songs, which I love. I love movies about revenge and all that. So there you have it. 3 bold, unapologetic songs where women take charge of their own stories, even if it means breaking the rules or the law. These tracks are dramatic, empowering, and let's face it, a little wicked in the best way. Because sometimes the best justice comes wrapped in a catchy chorus and a clever twist. Well, people, what a wild ride it's been. I do hope you enjoyed this musical roller coaster through heartbreak, redemption, surprise twists, and yes, even a little murder and mayhem. These story songs really know how to keep us on our toes. They pull you in, paint these vivid scenes, and leave you feeling like you just binge-watched an entire drama series, only with killer choruses and epic vibes. And hey, you probably noticed something. A lot of the songs I talked about today came from the world of country music. Now, I'll be honest, I don't normally listen to a ton of country, but when it comes to storytelling, country songs really nail it. They know how to spin a tale like nobody else, and that's why these have become some of my favorite country tracks. The drama, the detail, the heart, it's all there. I want to thank you for riding along with me today on The Music and Me. And if you loved this episode, go ahead and share it with your fellow music lovers. Text it to a friend, post it on social media, or shout it from your rooftop. No judgment here. The more the merrier, I always say. And don't forget to come back next week, because I've got something especially fun planned. Disney villain songs. That's right, we're diving into the deliciously dark side of Disney music. Expect drama, sass, and some wickedly catchy tunes. It's going to be a blast. Until then, keep listening, keep feeling, and keep finding your story in the music. Peace out, everybody. This has been the Music and Me podcast. Subscribe now so you don't miss a beat.